Hey everybody, my name is Dylan. I'm an independent artist based in Salt Lake City, Utah. You may know my project is called Howdy. Today, I'm going to walk through a bunch of things that you probably need to know if you're interested in making music in 2026. Okay, now I understand 2026 is more than halfway over, but all of these principles that I'm going through in this video are pretty universal. Doesn't matter what time it is, what year it is, any of that stuff. The idea is for this video to be a pretty timeless instruction on anything that you can do to up your chances of making it in the music industry, as well as really kind of establishing yourself as an artist. I have single-handedly grown my project Howdy from 0 to, I guess now it's somewhere around 50,000 monthly listeners, give or take. And I've learned a ton along the way, especially since I've been doing this all by myself. I do have friends that help me out whenever we play shows together. So aside from that, I guess I do everything by myself. And that includes the production, the instrumentation, mixing, mastering, promotion, marketing, branding, all of the fun stuff. Basically, besides playing live, I do everything by myself. So I think I guess more or less know a little bit of how I got to this spot. And I've also been taking notes and keeping a pretty good track record of what I've been doing and what has worked and not worked. Okay, first up, I wanted to talk about expectations for this whole thing. I've met a lot of people through teaching and as well as coaching other people that are getting into becoming an artist. And I think intentions and expectations are one of the most important things that you need if you want to become an artist. I have talked with so many different people that all have very unique and really ambitious intentions. And I don't think anything is wrong with ambition itself, but I do think that you need to figure out the right reasons of why you want to do this in the first place. For example, I had a friend who decided he wanted to start making music, but he didn't want to start making music because he loved music. He wanted to start making music because his one big dream was to be famous. I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to be famous. I don't think there's anything wrong with fame in and of itself, but choosing music as the avenue to get famous, in my humble opinion, is probably one of the dumbest things he could have done. I mean, just think about it. There are probably hundreds of thousands of influencers who have achieved internet fame by doing dances or sticking to trends or lip syncing or, quite honestly, anything except making music. And the sucky thing about music is you actually need to promote music in order to be famous from making music. So he ended up quitting music altogether. He still has some songs on Spotify. He still has, 10, 20,000 monthly listeners. But all in all, it just wasn't something for him because he didn't really care about the music. He just cared about the fame. And now, I don't think anything is wrong with this guy. I actually love him. He's a very close friend of mine. And I don't think anything is wrong with his intentions. I do think the execution of his plan is maybe a little not great, to say the least. That is why I think it's so incredibly important for you to set expectations about what pursuing music means. This is also a really great time to bring up that being a professional musician and being an artist are two very different things. I have been a professional musician for a little over 5 years, but I've been an artist for about 3. A professional musician is somebody who gets paid to play or be in the music business in any sort of capacity. An artist specifically is someone who creates and promotes their own music for the intention of being the sole area of focus in an event. And what I really mean by that is these people, these artists, are the center of attention when something happens. If you think of a concert, you're not going to the concert to, buy a drink. You're not going to the concert maybe you're going to the concert to buy merch, but chances are you're going to the concert to see somebody perform. That is an artist. If you go to a bar and there's a band performing, they are not usually the spectacle of attention. They are what the bar brings in to give it a little more flavor. Professional musicians are also often called economy musicians where I'm from. And I think referring to a professional musician as an economy musician is a much more sophisticated way of saying people buy them in order for them to produce a certain level of entertainment. These may be people like a bar band or corporate bands or a wedding band, all sorts of different ways that you can be a musician without exactly signing a record deal or going on tour or making music yourself. You can be an economy musician solely based on performing other people's music. And what I find really interesting about economy music is you end up making a ton more money compared to if you decided to pursue being an artist. Along with being an economy musician, there are also probably hundreds, if not thousands, of different areas that you can become a professional musician in. That's just the one I see most common for musicians, especially the ones that go to music school. There are also things that you can do like composing. You can also be an audio engineer. You can decide you want to be a producer. You can decide you want to be a remote mixing master engineer. You know, you have so many different options. Music is a whole industry. That's why it's called the music industry. So figuring out exactly what you would like to do is one of the best ways that you can ensure your success in this business. I have a friend that is a professional producing engineer, and he also does some mixing and mastering on the side as well. And I believe it's a bad year if he goes under $80,000 for the year. He does everything completely freelance. He pays his taxes. He runs his own business, and he doesn't work more than 25 to 30 hours a week. I think this is awesome for him, especially because he loves it so much. But if you were to come to me and say, hey, Dylan, would you like to be a professional mixing engineer? We're going to pay you $80,000 a year. You're going to do this full-time, 40 hours a week. I'd probably, honestly, maybe I'd say yes, actually, now that I think about it. But I'm an artist at heart, so I think doing something like that would be pretty difficult. All I'm really saying is there are so many different avenues that you can pursue music in a professional capacity. All you really need to do is narrow down what kind of capacity you want to pursue music professionally in, whether that's being an economy musician or being an artist, or even going through the more technical side of engineering. Now, I think it's a really great time to talk about the actual skill of musicianship. I'm sure everyone has heard of the lovely saying that you only become a master at something when you have practiced for 10,000 hours. I don't think that's true at all. I think maybe I'm 7/10 the way to my 10,000 hours. I think I've probably cleared around 7,000, 7,500 hours in my 12, almost 13 years of doing music. I don't think that is a super realistic approach to what a master could be. I'm certainly no master. I'm only saying that because I think I'd probably need 20 to 25,000 hours in order to become a master. But the point I'm trying to make is you really got to practice your stinking butt off. This is a cutthroat industry. I was always told growing up that guitarists are a dime a dozen. And as a guitarist, that kind of hurt my soul a little bit, because not only was I being told from a very young age that this is one of the most competitive industries out there, but I was also told that the specific area of what I was focusing in, being guitar, was one of the more difficult parts of this entire thing in the first place. So that put my chances at a very, very small fraction. But what my teacher didn't really realize at the time was I didn't really care much to become the best guitarist in the world, despite me always saying that. I more wanted to pursue music in an artist sort of way. I wanted to make my own music. I wanted to produce and mix and master everything myself. But there is one thing that I've learned along the way. The people that are better at things, more specialized in their skill, are the people that get hired more often. Especially when it comes to making money in the music industry, a lot of it comes from performances. And in order to be hired for somebody else's band or for your own band, you need to be skilled enough that people aren't noticing your mistakes, number one, but you need to be skilled enough that people are also coming back because they like you. So practice your butt off, get as good as you can. You are truly going to need every single ounce of skill you can put in your bag. Another thing I would like to mention is connections are great. You do need connections to make it in this industry, but connections are also easily made. You can go to somebody's show and shake their hand and say, hey, my name is so-and-so. This is my band. I just wanted to connect with you. We don't have to play a show together or anything. That's not what I'm here for. I just want to let you know that I exist and I'm here. If you guys ever want anything, just let us know. That is as simple as networking can get as a musician. And in some cases, it's really beneficial. In other cases, you may not see any returns from it. But then again, that's just networking. About a year after I started Howdy, my own personal project, I had a friend who decided to shake a stranger's hand at a concert. This stranger ended up being the lead guitarist in a very famous band that I'm not going to name by name, but he ended up getting a lot of attention from this band, and he ended up actually taking his band on tour with them through the entire continent of North America. All of this was made from shaking a stranger's hand at a concert, seeing a band he didn't really care to see. Making connections like this is super important. I always try to talk to people when I'm at shows, whether they're my shows or other people's shows. I always just love talking to people too. So I guess that always helps. On top of the networking, I think it's also really good to be a super kind person. Obviously, you're supposed to be kind. This isn't rocket science. Everybody kind of knows this. But especially in music where connections are key, you need to be a really easy person to be around and an easy person to work with. One of my very first shows was gotten because I decided to DM a band that was playing a show at my local venue. And I texted the lead singer. I said, hey, I think your music is super cool. I love you guys so much. We're a brand new band. If you ever need an opener, please let us know. And I also noticed that they didn't have an opener for their upcoming show in a few weeks. So this was not only just me being kind to them and complimenting their music, but this was also a little bit of a ploy in order to get my foot in the door. When they eventually said yes to having us open for them, we showed up on time. We were super polite at the merch table. We shook hands and got to know everybody. We stayed as long as we could. We helped them unload and load up their stuff into their cars. We did everything that we could to seem like we were the hosts of the event, to seem like we were the most hospitable people there. And not only did the other two bands recognize this, but the venue also recognized this. The manager reached out to me afterwards, said she loved our music, she loved our performance, and honestly, she loved the fact that we were so kind and so willing to socialize and help everyone out. And in doing so, she offered us a show in the next couple of weeks, opening for 2 big touring bands. I am 100% confident that this opportunity wouldn't have presented itself if it wasn't for the way that we presented ourselves in the show a couple weeks prior. All right, now let's get down to the nitty-gritty stuff. I think that in 2026, going into 2027, there is nothing more important as an artist than self-sufficiency. Everybody kind of knows that being a musician is kind of a long game sort of deal. You're not going to go in and expect your first song to blow up like that. And if you do expect your first song to blow up, I have a rude awakening for you. It's probably not going to happen. Everyone kind of knows that this is a long haul situation. But what you probably don't quite understand yet is the more skills you build for yourself, the easier and cheaper it's going to be to get things done. When I started being a professional musician about 5 years ago, I wanted and tried my very best to do everything myself. I wanted to play all the instruments. I wanted to learn how to produce, mix, and master. I wanted to learn how to write. I learned how to play bass. I learned how to play some really basic drum tracks. I learned how to sing. I wanted to be able to do everything at least a decent level so that I could minimize the amount that I had to bring other people in. This is purely for money's sake. Especially as a musician, I have horrible news. You're not going to have any money. You're not going to have a lot of money to spend. You're not going to be making a ton of money. You're not going to be having disposable income at your fingertips very often. The more skills that you're able to learn it's going to keep you busy, which is great. It's going to lower the cost on all the things you need to do. And more importantly, you're going to retain more creative ownership of everything. Up until the most recent song that my band recorded, I think it's out September 2nd, so about 10 days from now, everything was done by me. And I just barely brought in my live drummer. His name's Sean. If you've met him, I love that guy. This is the first time I've ever asked Sean to do drums for me. Everything else was done by either a breakout session musician that I paid by the hour or by myself. And everything up until this point, over 3 years in, I have retained 100% creative ownership of. Why this is important is because while streams are building up and the songs are becoming successful and all of the money's coming in, it may not seem like a lot right now, but that $20 has to be split a bunch of different ways if you record it all with your band. Now, I'm not saying that you and your band need to figure out a way that only one person gets paid. That's not at all what I'm saying. But you as a band or you as an artist need to look at all the things in your process, whether that be a digital artist, whether that be mixing and mastering, producing, recording, tracking, promoting. You guys need to split up the responsibilities and all learn some new things, or you can just do it all by yourself like I did. That way, you don't have to spend money hiring other people. You can just do it all yourself in your own little circle, whether that's by yourself or with the band. What's awesome about this is all of the things that I listed before with the creative ownership and the money and, honestly, it's just fun to know how to do everything, but I don't need a record label. For some context, I graduated from university in December of last year, so we're coming up on a year now, and I got my degree in marketing. Specifically, creative social media marketing was my small emphasis. One of the big reasons that I decided to major in marketing was because I knew if I could get my music out there, people would listen to it. I knew my music wasn't that bad. I've heard some bad music, and it was better than the bad music that people listen to. So I thought, hey, if I could get my music out there in front of people's eyes and ears, then I can also get people to listen to it. Doesn't matter how good or bad it is, it just needs to be heard. And this philosophy was one of the things that honestly was the reason that I got to the point where I'm at now. And through learning all this marketing, I figured out that a record label's job and my job are basically the exact same. A record label has a lot of things that I don't have. It has some resources, it has agents, it has managers. Yes, 100%. But at the same time, as a pretty small, self-sustaining artist at 50,000 monthly listeners, I don't really need an agent. I don't really need a manager. I'm going to, probably pretty soon, but I can also just pay those people myself now. A record label to me is going to do nothing except take half of my income. That doesn't really seem like a great deal, seeing as I already do everything myself. And honestly, at first, when music is a hobby, you're going to be doing things like learning how to run your own ads, learning how to make a good TikTok, learning how to make Instagram reels, all of this fun stuff. And hey, maybe you'll even start a long form YouTube channel like I'm doing right now. But whatever you decide to do, it really doesn't make a lot of sense to get all these people to do it for you, especially since you probably don't have the money in the first place to do it. Okay, the last thing I want to talk about in this video, there might be another video in the future, but the last thing I wanted to talk about today is content. I believe Gary Vee, the social media guy that goes to yard sales, I believe he said it, but content is king right now. Content is one of the most powerful and only forms of effective marketing that is out there right now. And it's really difficult from my perspective to see, especially going through school for marketing. We have all of these different techniques and studies that we're learning, and then our professors sit us down and say, hey, by the way, all of that kind of obsolete right now. The only thing that's really working well is content. That's kind of crazy. And with all of this information, I learned one massive thing. If you are an artist and you want to promote your music and you want to get it out there and you want people to listen, you want to go on tour and you want people to buy the merch, you have to make content. I understand it sucks, but at the same time, I'm going to sit down. I want you to sit down when I tell you this. There are people that are doing it and you are not. And that is the reason why they're successful. There are plenty of artists that have horrible music. I don't want to name any names, but you know who I'm talking about. The reason why that they are making music right now and going on tour is because they have an entire team at their disposal making content for them. And what is it doing? It's promoting their music. It's promoting the band. If you aren't making content, you aren't doing anything. And it kind of stinks. But at the same time, if everyone else is doing it and you're not, everyone else is going to be doing better than you. So get on the content. I know it's not your job. I know it kind of sucks. But what I have learned through content is if you make what you want and make it good, then guess what? It ends up doing a lot better. But if I don't like the process of what I'm doing and I don't like the videos that I make and I really don't appreciate the style of content that I'm producing and I put it out, it never performs well because all of the passion that I'm putting into it isn't there. And it is pretty easily reflected. Now, obviously, there are some caveats like, hey, don't make stupid content. Put like a little bit of effort into your content. Don't just like whatever. Yes, that is true. You need to put some effort into it. You need to make it so that other people want to watch it. I think the big thing that I always think of is, would I watch this reel if it came across my page? I'd like to say that 95% of the time the answer is no, which is something I'm working on right now. I only want to find something and make something that I wouldn't scroll on myself. So just keep that in mind when you're doing this. But honestly, guys, it's not difficult to make content. You can, spend an hour a day making the entire week's content. And I've done it before. I can honestly make a video breaking down how I make content really stinking quick and really effectively. And it doesn't take a lot of effort. It doesn't take much time. All it takes is a little bit of focus and a little bit of knowledge on how to do it. But it's really not that difficult. Go find your favorite artists. Go find some other bands or artists that are in your little niche of music. Look at the content that they're making. And I'm not even joking when I say this. Just copy it with your own music. If the formula works, use the stinking formula. Plus, I feel like a lot of artists and bands look at content as a sort of extra creative burden that they have to bear. And it doesn't really have to be, because like 99% of the time, other people are doing the heavy lifting for you. I've looked at other artists in the same style of music that I'm making, indie rock stuff, and I look at their content and I say, hey, this one actually performed really stinking good. This one got 5 times the amount of views that they have as followers. Let's just copy and paste this format with my own music, with my own camera, with me on it. And what happens every single time? It performs really well. It's not rocket science, everybody. It's really not. It takes a good 15 minutes of market research, which isn't that bad. Okay, I think that's going to wrap up everything I wanted to talk about today. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe. Go check out the music. Go to cutiemusic.com if you're interested in merch or anything of the sort. This is our most recent album, What, When, Why. It's the vinyl. My desk is kind of messy. That's the vinyl right there. So if you're interested in checking any of it out, please do so. I hope this stuff helped you out. I'd love to hear your story. If you want to ask questions, do so in the comments. But this is it. Love you guys. I'll see you so soon.